Hello everyone, John Cope here again from Cope Racing Transmissions. Today I want to talk about 46, 47, 48 RE drum failures and input shaft failures. I just had one of my Hellcat transmissions come back from Wyoming. This Hellcat is making every bit of 700 to 750 at the crank, and whenever I set my valve bodies up for these overdrives, I always run high line pressure, and a lot of my street line pressures, and so let's say the 727s, I usually go about 150 to 160. On some of the higher horsepowers, I like to bring that up to at least 185, and then a lot of the diesels I always set them at 200. And I've been setting my Hellcat transmissions and my Elephant transmissions, which are both 46 REs, right at 200. I got the pressure regulator valve set, the spring set at flush is right at 200. So I've been kind of using that 200 psi ever since I came out with the overdrive trans brake reverse manual valve body. Even in both of my own personal vehicles, one being a diesel with a 48 and the other one's being a Gen 3 Hemi in my old pickup truck, Mr. Haney, they're both set at 200 psi. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I come across and the options we may have to upgrade those Hellcat transmissions. Now this has only happened once, but I'll show you what happened. The customer called and said that he put it in, it worked great. He loved how it shifted and everything, and then there was like a bind up or a quit moving scenario, and it got here today from, I think, Wyoming. Is it Wyoming? Anyways, it's, or Washington State, one of the two. I took the transmission apart, and what I found on the drum, and I'm going to get a close-up picture so you can see, there's around the hub, input shaft and hub. Around the hub there's teeth on there to keep the drum from going far. It stops it, so when you put it on this way, it keeps the drum on the hub like this, okay? And what happened on this transmission, this Hellcat transmission I did, which was a 46 at 200 psi, was, and this is actually it, the splines on here, and I'm going to get up close picture, rounded off, and just took the teeth off of that. So that allowed this rear drum to push all the way out and start rubbing the planetaries, and then the two ain't connected, and then you don't have no input. I mean, it was barely connected from the back, and it would just jump and jump and jump and jump, and it made a little bit of a mess on the train, not too bad. But when I do the Hellcats, I use the stock input shaft and hub, but I use the billet rear drum, the billet steel rear drum. And the reason why I use the billet steel rear drum is because in my diesel, I have an 05 Ram with a 48, and it's had a reverse manual valve body in it for well over a year, and the stock drum just came apart in two pieces. I was actually driving down locally here on the crossroads of America. Actually, it was a 41 and US 30, and I'm just driving along. I'm sitting at the stoplight, and I accelerated, went about 10 feet, and I just quit moving. Luckily, I coasted along off into the parking lot, and I had to get towed. But this was the failure, and that was the first time that I come across these failures. I've seen other guys have this issue, and it's somewhat common in higher pressure. But this was a street vehicle. I mean, it's just, I use it to tow my race car here and there, whatever. So I was kind of surprised to see this fail. Now, I did have a billet input shaft and hub in my diesel, because that's just very, very common. Even in stock applications with a stock valve body, the shafts will break. So I already had the billet input shaft and hub in there. It just took out the drum. So, and this was sometime last year that this happened. So since then, I put a billet steel rear drum in there, and I never had the problem. That cured the problem. So the funny thing is, these rear drums are basically interchangeable from the early 727s, which came out in 1962. So this drum has been made from 62 to 2006. That's a long time, but I'm thinking that in my entire life of building transmissions, almost 38 years, with high pressure valve bodies, trans brake applications, fast cars, never ever did I have one of these drums break in a 727. But I've had a couple failures break with the 46s. And the only thing that I can logically come up with is they don't make the drum like they used to. I think the metal, the quality of the metal from the 60s and 70s is much better than the quality of the metal in the 90s and 2000s. I've never, ever, I've done hundreds and thousands of transmissions and never broke this piece. Matter of fact, I got a very fast turbo car, GTX, the local guy, that runs single digits in a turbo car, and he's got the stock rear drum. And so it never was an issue. So now I see it being an issue starting to creep up on me a little bit with the 46, 47, 48s. So there's only one way I see, and this has only happened one time. It's just a one-time deal, but I can kind of see, I mean, it happened to me where I broke the drum, and then it happened to one of my customers where he stripped out the splines around the teeth on here on a stock hub. So by me just putting a billet drum in, and I thought, well, heck, what I'm going to do on my Hellcat transmissions, and I'm going to put this billet drum in there because it's one that I broke on my truck, and that will make sure there's no issues. You should be able to run the stock shaft and hub and something like this, no problem. Matter of fact, my truck, Mr. Haney, with the Gen 3 Hemi, has a trans brake and a 46 RE that has a low gear set that runs, it only runs, right now it only runs 1260s, but it's a 4,000 pound vehicle. I have the stock input shaft and I have the stock drum. And it's been in, this will be the 4th season now. So I've got 3 seasons on it. It's 2021. I got 3 seasons on it, and it never broke the stock factory input shaft and hub, or stripped the hub out, or broke the drum. But I'm thinking it may be an issue. So I see a fix, one of two things that we're gonna have to do to the Hellcat transmissions. I'm either going to have to turn the pressures down, because I believe that this failure is not because of the torque. It is due to the pressure. The piston goes in the drum. It pushes the Bellevue spring. The Bellevue spring puts all the pressure on the snap ring, which holds all the clutches in there. So the force is always being pushed on that drum. And that's exactly what happened to these teeth there on the stock hub. It just pushed the billet drum past this and stripped those teeth out. So I see one of two things that are gonna have to be addressed to fix this concern. And here again, like I said, this only happened one time, but I'm putting it out there. We're either gonna have to put a billet input shaft and hub in there, along with the billet rear drum. That's the absolute sure fix. Now, right now, at this date and time, these input shaft and hubs are 7 1/4. So it does add quite a bit to the price of the transmission. It's either that or I have to lower the pressures in the valve body, which is not the end of the world. I just don't know where that sweet spot is. If the pressure is at 200 psi right now, if I lowered it down, is that enough to keep the drums from spreading apart or from the hubs stripping out the splines? I'm not really sure. So the transmission could probably safely be operated at 165 to 175 psi, but that 200 psi was always my benchmark, so to say. That's where I've always put them at. So I'm just letting you guys know what I experienced. I got a lot of 46s that I did this year, some of which have not yet been picked up, some of which that are out there. You know, what are the chances of it happening again? Now I see there could be a chance. Like I said, my Mr. Henny truck, I trans-brake the snot out of that truck when I take it to the track. I had to quit using the trans-brake because my leaf springs were acting up, but now it's getting coilovers and ladder bars, and I'm going to go out there and rip it. I want to do wheelies with that truck. I want to do 1-foot wheelies with that truck, so I'm going to give it everything it's got. And if it breaks, it's no big deal. I can bring it back to my own shop, have it fixed in a couple days and gone. However, if a customer's transmission breaks and they're far away, like Georgia or Texas or Wyoming or wherever most of my customers at, then either they're going to have to figure out how to put the input shaft in there locally and buy one, or send the transmission back. And right now it's February, or it's March, I mean, it's not bad for me to knock one of these out, but man, I know in the summertime we are jammed. We can have 30 transmissions on the build sheet, and I work a ton of hours. It's going to be hard for me to stop and put a transmission in front of somebody just to fix a shaft or a hub. So I'm just giving the options out there. It probably would be best for the Hellcat transmissions. Right now, the way they're listed, the input shaft and hub is not a part of the assembly. And I did that because of all the years that I got on my truck and a few other vehicles out there running stock shafts and stock drums. So just a little FYI for you guys, okay? I also want to let you guys know, don't forget that we have catalogs out now. We've always done catalogs since 2004, but the 2021 catalogs are in. If you would like one, you can get one for free on the internet at COPERACINGTRANS.com. There'll be a link down below that takes you to the website. Also down below will be my email address. If you just want to send me an email, I need your name, address, city, state, zip, and I'll make sure you get a free catalog. If you live outside the United States or outside the lower 48 or Canada, let's say you're overseas in Australia or that part, we have a downloadable version of the paper catalog on our website. You can see that on the catalog link. Go to the website, click catalog. You'll see where you can buy a physical paper catalog, or you could download our paper catalog to your computer. All right, guys. That's our gig with the 48RE drum and input shaft. Thank you for watching.